What are the strengths and weaknesses to be looking out for some people that are tuning in?
Yeah, to me, I would say, for Georgia, I would look at, a couple keys would be improvement in the perimeter blocking. Obviously Alabama's got such a great interior. Georgia's got some, injuries that they're dealing with on the interior of its offensive line. With Tate Ratledge, All-American right guard that's down for the next month or so, just underwent tightrope ankle surgery. So they'll be breaking in a new starter on the interior. It's somebody that they've rotated a good bit, but with that being a strength of Alabama and a question for Georgia, I think that it's going to be important that they're able to block well on the perimeter. And then I would say the ability to contain Jalen Milroe and also pressure him. You got to find, there's a fine line. You got to walk there, and they got to find that balance there of how much do we spy him? How much do we go after him? And I think that it's important because if you let Milroe sit back there and throw deep, you've got Ryan Williams and Bernard and all these receivers capable of making plays. If you pressure him too much and you lose contain, he's got the legs that he can make plays on his own. So I think offensively, Georgia needs to improve on that perimeter blocking. I think that'll really, and like I said earlier, push the ball downfield a little bit as well. So I would really circle that receiver group as a, position that needs to step up. And then, like I said, defensively, I think the defensive line is one that you've got to watch because they've got a couple of guys that are coming off of injuries. Michael Williams, Warren Brinson, Jordan Hall. Those three guys have all missed the last 2 games. Hall has not played at all this season, but all 3 of them are counted on as contributors. And, I think early signs say that they are trending towards playing. We'll obviously know a lot more later this week. But I think that's something to watch, as well as the play of the inside and outside linebackers against Milroe.
Well, and I believe that I saw a little bit of I caught a little bit of Kalen DeBoer's press conference today, and he was going over the injury report, and he said that Malcolm Moore should return for the Georgia matchup. What's your take on that, Johnny?
That's really, really good. A good defender and experienced. And anytime you can go in with a full boat and have what you need, be at your best, that's a great thing. But to me, if I were Alabama, I would get after Carson Beck. I would get up there and I would challenge that guy. Okay. I know he can get out of the pocket and stuff like that, but I'm really, really going to put the game in his hands. All right. If you can beat us, you can beat us. Then if I'm on offense, then I'm going to explore the defense. I'm going to put Ryan Williams out there. I'm going to see how they're going to react to it. And then if they're going to, if Ryan Williams is going to take off, on these little, streak patterns, these little, outside outside takeoff routes and that kind of stuff, and they start to split those safeties, I'm going to focus that tight end down the middle, and that. So I'm going to attack it, see secondary first, see what happens, and how they defend Ryan. Then if the changes they make, then if that works, I'm going to start pounding the ball with, we got to dual ahead with our running backs and stuff like that. But then defensively, I'm going to get after Carson Beck. If he wants to be an All-American, he's going to have to prove it, Saturday night at Tuscaloosa. And if he proves it, then more power to him. But I will bring the kitchen sink after him. Sorry, Palmer. That's just what I would do.
Hey, I would do it all too. I would do it all too. If you're Georgia and you're, bringing, I've watched a good bit of that SEC championship game back from last year already this week. And, I think if Georgia wants to bring 3 and drop 8, Jalen Milroe has the legs to make, them pay for that. And so I think that, I think you're spot on, and see how Georgia is going to play you. Obviously it's a different Alabama system under Kalen DeBoer. And, I would imagine, and I say this with some hesitation, but I would imagine that Kirby has probably talked with Dan Lanning, who worked at Georgia under him as the defensive coordinator. He's matched up with Kalen a couple of three times in his 2 years at Oregon, and he's 0-3. So I wouldn't say that he's got the best strategy, but I do think that there is some defensive minds that can bounce some ideas off of each other and discuss, hey, here's how I would approach this. Here's how I would handle that. And so either that happened in the bye week or in the off season or sometime. I would imagine that Kirby has had some conversations with Dan about how to defend this. And, I think that you're spot on is if they're going to pay a ton of attention to these Alabama receivers, make them pay with the run game. If they're going to focus on the run game, you make them pay with the receivers. Pick your poison type deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's what you have to do. And in the press conference today, Kalen DeBoer went over the importance of time of possession against Georgia, where he said time of possession is always an interesting stat, right? Just because we saw one game, our time of possession was not in our favor drastically. Explosive plays, things like that. Scoring points is what it's all about. In order to score points, you got to have explosive plays. There's just this statistical analysis that shows that. But there's a piece to also not having one side of the ball on the football field, especially your defense, how that will wear you down, especially in a game like this. When you know it's going to be physical, you want to have that opportunity to play team football. We want to make sure that exists so that one side of the ball, especially defense, isn't out there becoming vulnerable as the game goes on. We take a lot of pride in being a second half team, being a fourth quarter team, whether that's our understanding and learning of what we've seen in the first half and applying it, and especially with the fourth quarter and physical training that comes along with being prepared to being able to be great in those moments.
Time of possession is always an anomaly. I mean, it's just, never can figure it out. If it's a good thing, bad thing, because look at Oklahoma. I mean, I don't think that's a good one. I mean, they had the ball a few plays and did nothing with it. But, teams that own the time possession win the game, low scoring, and then teams that big play. So it's always, I don't know how much I put into time possession.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Georgia, going to kind of Kalen's point there about, trying to keep a defense off of the field, Georgia being banged up on that defensive line, we saw how much of an impact that had against Kentucky, and the fact that they had three starting defensive linemen and Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, Nazir Stackhouse, and Kristen Miller that played 50-plus snaps each. You want to get those three guys back that I talked about earlier in Brinson, Hall, and Williams. But if those guys are going to be limited at all and you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on those, big bodies and to play a lot of snaps, you want to take some time offensively and try to reduce the amount of time that they're out there and increase the amount of time that they've got to catch their breath, but also try to reduce it in general.
Johnny, what's your take on this game?
Well, I thought defense. Defense. Going to come down to defense, and it should. Who can defend? Be better defender. It's going to be a lot of talent. It's going to be a lot of interesting scenarios, big plays. Who can? I think when you get into games like this, it's not so much big plays. To me, it comes down to, in the end, it may be a big play. There's always going to be a big play or two. But in the end, it comes down to long drives, sustained drives, who can stop, who can just, stop the offense and force third down situations, punting situations, and things like that. So I think it's going to come down to more and more of who is better able to force punts. You know what I'm saying? The short drives, turn the ball over, third down, that kind of scenarios. Whoever's got the better third down, after the game, whoever had the better third down conversion ratio. I think that's going to be the number one factor. If I were going in and after the game looking at stats and all that kind of stuff, I know big plays and rushing and passing yards and stuff like that, but I'm going to look at third down conversions and see what's going on with regard to that. And I feel like whoever is better on third down, it's probably in this type of game, where they have great defenses. I think that's kind of a big impact.